Welcome to KCA Production. If you love world class cinema content, please like, share, and subscribe to KCA Production. Let's get into it. The greatest stories ever put to film did not all come from Hollywood. From the sun soaked piazzas of Rome to the rain swept estates of England, from polished forests to Greek gardens, European cinema has given the world an unmatched tradition of storytelling. Bold, human, political, and profoundly beautiful. Today, we count down the top 40 European movies of all time, spanning 1960 to 2026. These films are ranked on commercial success, audience appeal, production quality, the caliber of the cast, the power of the storyline, and streaming views across decades. Every region of Europe is represented. We begin at number 40 and build the greatest European film of all time. Let's begin. At number 40, we begin with one of the most chilling films of the 21st century, Michael Hanke's The White Ribbon. Set in a German Protestant village on the eve of the First World War, this stark black and white masterpiece won the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 2009 and received an Academy Award nomination for Best Foreign Language Film. Produced by Stefan Arndt's ex-film Creative Pool and Wega Film, the film features a devastating ensemble cast under Henke's precise, deeply unsettling direction. Find it on Mubi, Amazon Prime, and the Criterion Channel. At number 39 is Spain's most haunting film, Victor Erice's The Spirit of the Beehive, produced by Elias Corregeta in 1973 under the shadow of Franco's dictatorship. A young girl in a remote Castilian village becomes obsessed with the monster from a traveling cinema screening of Frankenstein, a dreamlike meditation on childhood, fear, and political repression. Starring the magnetic Anna Torrent in a performance of extraordinary naturalism, the film has enchanted cinephiles worldwide for 5 decades. Available on the Criterion Channel, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 38 is Dogtooth, the film that announced Greek director Yorgos Lanthimos to the world. A couple raised their 3 children in total isolation behind the walls of their estate, inventing a false language and a distorted reality. The result is one of the most deeply disturbing and conceptually original films of the decade. Produced by Boo Productions and the Greek Film Center, Dogtooth won the Uncertain Regard Prize at Cannes and received the Academy Award nomination for Best Foreign Language Film, available on Hulu, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 37 is Lazio Nomes, Son of Saul, one of the most formally radical and emotionally devastating films ever made about the Holocaust. Set over 2 days in Auschwitz-Birkenau, the film follows a Sonderkommando prisoner whose entire world is compressed into a desperate mission of human dignity and mass murder. Shot almost entirely in close-up on Geza Rodriguez's face, the film is an act of moral imagination of the highest order. It won the Grand Prix at Cannes and the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, available on Amazon Prime and Mubi. At number 36 is Romanian director Cristian Mugi's 4 months, 3 weeks and 2 days, the film that announced Romania's astonishing new wave to the world. Set in communist-era Romania, it follows 2 friends navigating the terrifying process of obtaining an illegal abortion over a single day and night. Anna Maria Marica's lead performance is one of European cinema's great unheralded achievement. Produced by Mobra Films, the film won the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 2007, the Romanian cinema's highest moment on the world stage. Find it on Mubi and the Criterion Channel. At number 35 is Paweł Pawlikowski's Cold War, a devastatingly beautiful love story told across 15 years and 5 countries, stretching from Stalinist Poland to the jazz clubs of Paris and back again. Shot in luminous widescreen black and white, the film stars Joanna Kulig in a performance of shattering emotional force. Produced by MK2 Productions and Opus Film, Cold War received the Best Director Award at Cannes in 2018 and 3 Academy Award nominations. It's available on Mubi, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. At number 34 is Andrei Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev, widely regarded by film scholars as one of the 10 greatest films ever made. A portrait of the 15th century Russian icon painter set across episodic chapters of extraordinary visual power. The film was suppressed by Soviet authorities for years before being released internationally. Produced by the legendary Mosfilm Studio, it stars Anatoly Solotysyn in a transcendent performance of silence and witness. Its final revelation of color is one of cinema's most breathtaking moments. Find it on the Criterion Channel, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. And number 33 is Gabriel Axel's Babette's Feast, a Danish masterpiece of warmth, artistry, and quiet spiritual revelation. A French refugee arrives in a remote, austere Norwegian religious community, and years later spends her entire lottery winnings creating an extraordinary gourmet feast for its elderly inhabitants. Starring Stephen Odren in a role of immense grace and mystery, and based on Karen Blixen's novella, the film won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1988. Produced by Nordics Film, it's available on Amazon Prime, Mubi, and Criterion. And number 32 is Volker Sklintov's The Tin Drum, a ferocious adaptation of Gunter Grass Nobel Prize-winning novel and one of the most audacious German films ever made. A boy in Danzig chooses to stop growing on his third birthday, bearing witness to the rise of Nazism and the horrors of war through a savage, satirical eye. Produced by Bioscope Film and Argus Films, the film won both the Palme d'Or at Cannes and the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1979. Find it on the Criterion Channel in Mubi. And number 31 is Paweł Pawlikowski's Ida, 62 minutes of near-perfect cinema. A young Polish novice preparing to take her vows discovers she is Jewish and sets off with her alcoholic world-weary aunt to find the grave of her parent, killed during the Nazi occupation. Shot in luminous Academy ratio black and white, with compositions of painterly precision, Ida won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the BAFTA for Best Film Not in the English Language. Produced by Phoenix Film and Opus Film, it's available on Mubi, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. And number 30 is Louis Mally's Au revoir, les enfants, a semi-autobiographical masterpiece of shattering moral clarity. Set in a Catholic boarding school in Germany, occupied France during World War II, it follows a tentative friendship between two boys, one unaware that he's hiding among Jewish children sheltered by the priests. The final image is among the most quietly devastating in all of cinema. The film won the Golden Lion at Venice and the César for Best Film. Produced by Nef Diffusion and MK2, it's available on Amazon Prime, Mubi, and the Criterion Channel. And number 29 is James Sheridan's My Left Foot, the Irish film that gave the world Daniel Day-Lewis' first Academy Award and placed Irish cinema permanently on the international stage. The true story of Christy Brown, an Irish writer and artist born with cerebral palsy who learns to paint and type using only his left foot, is brought to life by Day-Lewis in a performance of total fearless emotion. Brenda Fricker also won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Produced by Fernando Films and Granada, the film is available on Amazon Prime and Max. And number 28 is Thomas Vinterberg's Festen, The Celebration, the explosive Dogman 95 film that turned a family birthday dinner into one of cinema's most emotionally detonating experiences. When a successful son stands up at his father's 60th birthday party to make a toast, what he reveals tears the family apart with catastrophic, darkly comic force. Shot on a handheld digital camera in strict Dogman 95 style, the film won the Jury Prize at Cannes in 1998 and redefined what low-budget filmmaking could achieve. Available on Mubi, Criterion, and Amazon Prime. At number 27 is Thomas Alfredson's Let the Right One In, Sweden's most internationally acclaimed film of the 21st century and one of the most poetic, terrifying, and heartbreaking takes on the vampire genre ever committed to screen. A lonely 12-year-old boy in a bleak Stockholm suburb befriends a strange girl next door who turns out to be a vampire. Shot in the frozen beauty of Swedish winter, the film is above all a love story of singular delicacy. Produced by FT. It's available on Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Mubi. At number 26 is Lars von Trier's Breaking the Waves, a raw, deeply divisive, and undeniably powerful film about faith, love, sacrifice, and the violence of devotion. Emily Watson, in one of the most devastating debut performances in cinema history, plays Bess, a naive, deeply religious Scottish woman who interprets her paralyzed husband's cruel requests as a sacred calling. The film won the Grand Prix at Cannes in 1996 and earned Watson a BAFTA nomination. Produced by Peter Albeck Jensen's Zentropa, it's available on Mubi, Amazon Prime, and Criterion. At number 25 is Paolo Sorrentino's The Great Beauty, a ravishing melancholy and magnificently cinematic tour of a man's life amid the ruins of eternal Rome. Tony Servillo plays a 65-year-old journalist and socialite who once wrote one great novel and has spent decades since drifting through the city's parties, conversations, and beautiful surfaces, searching for something he cannot name. Drenched in the spirit of Fellini, the film won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 2014. Produced by Indigo Film, it is available on Netflix, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 24 is Gillo Pontecorvo's The Battle of Algiers, the most politically urgent film in European cinema history. Shot in a documentary style on the streets of Algiers with a largely non-professional cast, the Italian-Algerian co-production reconstructs the Algerian independence struggle against French colonial rule with extraordinary intensity and moral even-handedness. The film won the Golden Lion at Venice in 1966 and received 3 Academy Award nominations. It has been screened at the Pentagon as a manual on urban insurgency. Available on the Criterion Channel, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 23 is Dardenne Brothers' Rosetta, the Belgian film that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 1999 and changed the language of social reality cinema. Emily Dequesne plays a fierce, desperate teenage girl living in a trailer park with an alcoholic mother, pursuing any job she can find with animal urgency that is almost unbearable to witness. The Queen won Best Actress at Cannes in the performance of total, unsparing physical commitment. Produced by Low Films de Lavaux, Rosetta is available on Mubi, the Criterion Channel, and Amazon Prime. At number 22 is Tom Tykwer's Run Lola Run, Germany's most electrifying and inventive film of the 1990s, and a global breakthrough for post-reunification German cinema. Lola has 20 minutes to find 100,000 Deutschmarks to save her boyfriend's life. The story plays out 3 times, each with different consequences. Driven by Franka Potenti's fierce, physically exhausting central performance and a driving techno score, the film earned $8 million in Germany alone and introduced millions worldwide to the possibilities of German cinema. Produced by Stefan Arndt X-Film, it's available on Netflix and Amazon Prime. At number 21 is Matthew Kassovitz's La Haine, Hatred for La Haine, the defining French film of a generation, and still the most urgent statement about race, policing, and social exclusion in European cinema. Following 3 young men of African, Jewish, and Arabic heritage over 24 hours in the Paris suburbs after a police brutality incident, the film burns with barely contained fury. Vincent Cassel, Hubert Koundé, and Saïd Tagmoa deliver performances of electric authenticity. Kassovitz won Best Director at Cannes in 1995, Available on Mubi, Amazon Prime, and the Criterion Channel. And number 20 is Peter Catenius' The Full Monty. The great-hearted Sheffield comedy that became one of the most beloved British films of all time and a worldwide commercial phenomenon. 6 unemployed steelworkers decide to form a male strip act, and what follows is both hilarious and quietly devastating in its portrayal of working-class dignity in post-industrial Britain. The film grossed about $258 million worldwide on a $3.5 million budget and received 4 Academy Award nominations. Robert Carlyle and Tom Wilkinson are superb. Produced by Channel 4 Films, it's available on Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. At number 19 is Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth. The darkest, most beautiful fairy tale European cinema has produced in the modern era. Set in Francois, Spain, in 1944, a young girl escapes the brutality of her reality into an underground fantasy world of labyrinthine peril and ancient magic. Starring the luminous Ivana Baquero alongside the terrifying Sergi Lopez, the Spanish language film won 3 Academy Awards and earned 3 BAFTA nominations, grossing over $83 million worldwide. Produced by Tequila Gang, it's available on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Max. At number 18 is Pedro Almodovar's All About My Mother, a film of ferocious emotional generosity and breathtaking cinematic craft. After her teenage son is killed in a car accident, a Madrid nurse travels to Barcelona to find his father, and there falls into the orbit of actresses, nuns, and transgender women whose lives weave into hers. A celebration of survival, performance, and the love between women, the film won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, the BAFTA for Best Film Not in the English Language, and the Cannes Best Director Prize. Available on Mubi, Amazon Prime, and Max. At number 17 is Oliver Hirschkebekel's Downfall, the most visceral and controversial dramatization of Adolf Hitler's final days ever committed to film, and also a cultural phenomenon that transcended cinema through its internet meme afterlife. Bruno Gant's performance as Hitler is one of the most committed and technically audacious in German film history. Terrifying, pathetic, and utterly human. Produced by Bernd Eichinger at Constantin Film, Downfall received the Academy Award nomination for Best Foreign Language Film, grossed $92 million worldwide, and remains Germany's most globally discussed film of the 21st century. It's available on Amazon Prime and Paramount Plus. At number 16 is Mike Newell's 4 Weddings and a Funeral, the film that made Hugh Grant an international star, cemented working title films as Britain's greatest production company, and essentially invented the modern British romantic comedy. Charming, witty, and genuinely moving, it follows a hapless Englishman through a series of social occasions and one terrible loss as he slowly realizes who he loves. The film grossed about $245 million worldwide on a $4.4 million budget and received 2 Academy Award nominations including Best Picture. Available on Peacock, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV+. At number 15 is Ingmar Bergman's Fanny and Alexander, the Swedish master's final theatrical film and his most generous life-affirming work. Seen through the eyes of 2 children from a large, warm, physical family who are taken from their home to live with a cold and tyrannical bishop after their father dies. The film is simultaneously a fairy tale, a family saga, and a meditation on art and reality. It won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Foreign Language Film and Best Cinematography. Produced by Cinematograph AB, it's available on Criterion, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 14, we have Michael Radford's To Postino, meaning The Postman, a film of such tender, luminous beauty that it has moved audiences worldwide to tears for 3 decades. A simple postman on an Italian island becomes friends with the exiled Chilean poet Pablo Neruda, and through their conversations discovers the transformative power of metaphor and love. Massimo Torrisi, who died of heart failure just 12 hours after completing filming, delivers one of Italian cinema's most beloved performances. The film received 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, a rare honor for a foreign language film. Available on Netflix and Amazon Prime. At number 13 is Florian Henkel von Dänemark's The Lives of Others, the most morally complex and quietly devastating German film of the 21st century. A dedicated Stasi officer in East Berlin is assigned to surveil a playwright and his actress partner, and finds his own certainty slowly eroding in the process. Ulrich Moher, who died of cancer shortly after the film's release, gives one of the great screen performances, communicating an entire internal revolution through almost no visible expression. The film won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Film in 2007. It's available on Amazon Prime and Max. At number 12 is Krzysztof Kieślowski's Three Colors, Red. The breathtaking finale of the Polish master's Three Colors trilogy and one of the summit achievements of European cinema. A model in Geneva forms an unexpected friendship with a retired judge who spies on his neighbors, and across their conversations, a meditation on fraternity, chance, and the invisible threads connecting human lives unfolds with quiet, ravishing precision. Irene Jacob and Jean Lewis, Trintignant are luminous. Produced by MK2's Marine Karmet, Red received 3 Oscar nominations. You can find it on Criterion, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 11 is Stephen Daldry's Billy Elliot, one of the most joyful, emotionally overwhelming, and socially astute British films ever made. In a County Durham mining town during the 1984 25 miners' strike, an 11-year-old discovers a passion for ballet and must fight both his father's working class prejudices and the economics of a collapsing community to pursue it. Jamie Bell's performance is simply extraordinary, as is Julie Walters as his dance teacher. The film grossed $109 million worldwide, received 3 Academy Award nominations, and later became one of the most successful West End musicals ever staged. Available on Netflix and Amazon Prime. At number 10, we have Danny Boyle's Trainspotting, the most visceral, funny, and alive British film of the 1990s, and a cultural defining moment for a generation. The Edinburgh heroine subculture of Ewan McGregor and his circle of gloriously dysfunctional friends arrives with a kinetic cinematic energy that had not been seen in British films since A Clockwork Orange. Based on Irvine Welsh novel, the film earned €12 million in the UK alone on a €1.5 million budget, and was also nominated for the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Available now on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. At number 9 is Wolfgang Petersen's Das Boot, the greatest war film ever produced in Germany and one of the most technically extraordinary films ever made. The story of a German U-boat crew in the Battle of the Atlantic, men who know they will likely not return, is told with a breathless, sweat-soaked immediacy that obliterates all the heroic mythologies of war cinema. Jürgen Prochnow is commanding as the weary captain, produced by Bavaria Film, and WDR. Das Boot received 6 Academy Award nominations, grossed $84 million worldwide, and is available on Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Hulu. At number 8 is Hugh Hudson's Chariots of Fire. David Putnam's masterpiece and one of the most unlikely Best Picture Oscar winners in Academy Award history. The true story of 2 British runners, one a Scottish Christian missionary, one a Jewish Cambridge student, who competes in the 1924 Paris Olympics, is told with extraordinary dignity, period detail, and emotional intelligence. The film won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Screenplay, Costume Design, and the iconic Vangelis score for Best Original Music. Produced by Enigma Productions, it is available on Amazon Prime, Peacock, and Apple TV+. At number 7 is Federico Fellini's 8½, widely considered the greatest film ever made about the act of creation, and one of the 10 finest films in cinema history. A celebrated Italian film director, escaping to a spa to work on his new film, finds himself unable to separate memory, fantasy, and reality as the women of his past and present converge around him. Marcello Mastroianni is mesmerizing. Produced by Cineris, 8½, won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and Best Costume Design, and has appeared at or near the top of every great films list for 60 years. It's available on Criterion and Mubi. At number 6 is Olivier Nakache and Eric Toledano's Intouchables. The Intouchables, the most commercially successful French film in the history of world cinema, grossing over $426 billion worldwide. Based on the true story of a wealthy paradise Parisian aristocrat and his unlikely new caregiver, a young man from the Parisian banlieues. The film works as a warm, generous comedy, social commentary, and a genuine celebration of human connection across class and race. Omar Sy won the César Award for Best Actor, produced by Gaumont. Intouchables is available on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. At number 5 is Jean-Luc Godard's A Bout de Souffle, meaning breathless. The film that detonated the French New Wave in 1960 and permanently changed what cinema could be. Shot on location in Paris with a handheld camera, natural lighting, and improvised dialogue, Godard's debut feature electrified the world with its jump cuts, its casual immorality, and the reckless magnetism of Jean-Paul Belmondo. Produced by George de Bouchard on almost no money, Breathless won the Berlin Silver Bear and inspired generations of filmmakers on every continent. Available on Criterion, Mubi, and Amazon Prime. At number 4 is Federico Fellini's La Dolce Vita, The Sweet Life, the film that gave a world to the language. The film that gave a word to the language, a face to the era, and a vision to Western cinema that has never faded. A jaded Rome journalist drifts through the parties, scandals, and beautiful emptiness of the Italian capital's Dolce Vita, the sweet life, and never finds what it all means. Marcello Mastroianni became the face of European cinema through this single performance. The Trevi fountain scene is the most famous image in the history of European film. La Dolce Vita won the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 1960 and is available on Criterion and Mubi. At number 3 is Jean-Pierre Jeunot's Amélie, a film that made Audrey Tautou a global star made Montmartre the most romanticized neighborhood on earth and became one of the most watched European films in the history of streaming cinema. A shy Parisian waitress embarks on a secret mission to improve the lives of everyone around her while neglecting her own happiness. Joyful, inventive, and visually unlike anything else in European cinema, Amelie grossed $174 million worldwide, received 5 Academy Award nominations, and remains the best and most beloved French film of the 21st century. Available on Amazon Prime, Mubi, and Netflix. At number 2 is Roberto Benigni's Life is Beautiful, one of the most audacious, polarizing, and ultimately devastating films in the history of world cinema. A charming, irrepressible Italian Jew uses every resource of his comic imagination to shield his young son from the reality of a Nazi concentration camp, transforming it into a game where the prizes are a real tank. The film won 3 Academy Awards. The film won 3 Academy Awards, one for Best Foreign Language Film, another for Best Actor for Benigni and Best Score, and also grossed $229 million worldwide. Produced by Milan Paul Cinematografica, it's on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Max. And at number 1, the greatest European film of all time from 1960 to 2026 is Giuseppe Tornatore's Cinema Paradiso. Made in 1988 and released internationally in 1989, Cinema Paradiso is the most universally beloved film in the European cinema history. A work so tender, so achingly human, and so perfectly made that it has moved audiences to tears across every culture, language, and generation it has reached. The story follows Salvatore Toto, a successful film director in Rome who returns to his Sicilian village after 30 years for the funeral of Alfredo, the cinema projectionist who was his childhood friend, father figure, and first teacher. Through their relationship, the film becomes a meditation on memory, cinema, loss, and the transformative power of art itself. Philippe Noire as Alfredo gives one of the great performances in Italian cinema, warm, wise, ruined, and unforgettable. The young Salvatore Casiccio is a force of nature, and Ennio Morricone's score is one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever written for the screen. Cinema Paradiso won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the Special Grand Jury Prize at Cannes. It has spent decades at or near the top of audience polls for the greatest films ever made. On streaming platforms worldwide, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Mubi, and Criterion, its view count continues to grow because its audience never ends and its spell never breaks. This is European cinema at its most complete. A film about a village, a friendship, and a cinema that somehow contains everything we have ever loved about the movies. And that has been the top 40 European movies of all time, from 1960 to 2026, as ranked by KCA Production. From a Sicilian village cinema to the streets of Paris, from a German underwater to the snowy Polish countryside, European cinema is one of the great creative achievements of human civilization. These 40 films are its finest hours. Please subscribe to KCA Production, like and share this video with every lover of creating cinema you know. Also, hit the notification bell. We'll see you in the next one.